Go.
There was once a cheder back in Russia, in the town of Neville. And in the class, that was a Hasidic town, there were some rich people and some less rich. The way it worked in those days, before they had the ballpoint pen, that you had a, the old, what they call it, the fountain pens, and you had an inkwell. There was once a class of 15 or 20 children. Some of them were from more rich families, some from less fortunate families. And once, as the class was getting ready to start the lesson, they were learning how to read Aleph Beis, right? So the Melamed, the teacher, noticed one of the poor children asking his friend, classmate from a richer family, I ran out of ink. Probably couldn't afford to buy more. Could you please share some of your ink with me? And the child refused. So the class sits down, and the teacher starts the lesson, and he calls over one of the students. This is the old-fashioned way of doing things. And he calls upon the rich student who refused to share his ink, and he shows him the siddur. He says, "What's this letter?" He shows him, points to the Aleph. So he says, "What is this?" This is an Aleph. So the Melamed gives the boy a spank and tells him, "No, Aleph means that when your friend asks you for some ink, you share with him." All right, next. What is this? He points to the next letter. He says, "It's a Beis." He says, "No, Beis is when your friend asks you for ink, you share with him." And he went through all the letters of Aleph Beis. And that was his way to impart the importance of Avas Yisrael, which is the topic of this chapter. So, like David actually pointed out before, that the more basic meaning of love your neighbor as yourself is, like Rabbi Akiva said, it's a very general principle of the Torah, and you cannot impose love on someone. What the Torah is expecting us to do is to behave as if you love him. Do what you would do if you would love him. How the expression that the Torah uses is actually love, not just behave as if you love. And how could we really impose love, make ourselves love others, love every single Jew like we love ourselves? It's a big deal. It's not easy. So the key to that is by looking into. There are different types of love. There's what the Mishnah calls love which depends on something, and what the Mishnah calls love which does not depend on something. A more classical example would be love which is independent, is natural love between parents, between siblings maybe on a lower level, love between people who have a certain blood relation. And we see that although sometimes, especially in families, there's that friction. There's a lot of times the rivalry,
Sibling rivalry,
right? But when push comes to shove, in most cases, and the reason why we know of the cases which are not that way, because that's the exception. When siblings are not there for each other, all families get into fights. But when it really matters, we turn to the family turns to us, we're there for each other, because that's a natural love. And in essence, what we have to really accomplish is to feel the same way towards every Jew. To see ourselves as brothers. Now the only problem is that the way we are as a combined entity of a body and a soul, the body which is physical and has its limits and has its desires, and the soul, which is a godly part that God puts into us, and the soul does see every other soul as a brother. The problem is that we are not just souls, we're also a body. And the way for us in this world to feel, not only to behave in a loving way, but to feel love towards every single Jew, is by focusing on what the Tanya teaches, is how to make the soul overpower the body, that the body has to realize by different forms of intense training that the body is a tool. The soul is meant to lead, and the body is a tool which is meant to follow and assist the soul in that mission. And as long as the body takes the lead and the soul is schlepped along, it's really impossible to feel love towards anyone who doesn't benefit you. Like you mentioned last week, the famous story and adage of once a rabbi asked a student, he says, "Do you love fish?" He says, "I love fish very much." He said, "If you love the fish, you would let it live. You wouldn't skin it and pull the flesh off its bones and eat it. That's not that. You don't love fish. You love yourself." So the bodily type of love, love that we have to others, which stems from our body, is really in its base self-love. I love myself, and that's why I love people that entertain me and make me happy and care for me, etc., etc. But true love is like the closest example we could think of is love of parents to the children. Is not love that is self-rewarding. To get up to change a diaper for a baby, or sometimes when people strive to try to really love their spouse, it's a lot of times it's not about you give more than you get, and that's a love which is more essential. It's a love which surpasses the body, and that's why, in order to feel that type of love, to feel the type of care towards someone that you don't benefit from, you may not benefit from, it requires a lot of self-work, a lot of making the soul more central than the body, getting the soul to lead, that the body understands that it's here for the sake of soul, not the opposite.
For the soul's sake.
That the body is here for the soul's sake. When the spirituality overpowers, then all the limits of selfishness don't apply. One soul feels brotherhood with another soul because they all come from one Father, from God Almighty.
So what if there's some person that everybody is in the community is telling you need to show love for this guy, love him, and you hate his guts so bad that if you could get away with it, you would kill him, cut his throat, and hide his body somewhere. So you're supposed to pretend that you love this person? You're supposed to act with this person?
So
how about Hitler? If you met Hitler, okay, would you pretend, are you supposed to act like you love him? Are you supposed to...
Well, first of all, we're talking about Avas Yisrael. Now,
yeah, I know, but I'm just saying in general.
And if there's a Jew who behaves very, very wrongly, which is the second part of the class, we'll get into that. But in general, let's not talk about Hitler. Let's talk about someone who got into a fight with you, something personal. Now, there's a mitzvah in the Torah. Right. He knocked down my fence with his car and doesn't want to pay. Yeah, good example. Or he cheated me in business. Had a partner. So now let's not confuse between. Sometimes there's people who do wrong things. They have to correct it, and the job of the personal. My job is to. I have the right and actually the obligation to protect my property, and the community has a right and obligation to enforce justice. But let's look at it this way. I'll try to answer that by mentioning another thought. It says that Hillel, famous sage, was once a Gentile who wanted to convert. But he told him, "I want you to teach me the entire Torah standing on one foot." So he told him, "This is the entire Torah is in the following sentence: that which you do not want being done to you, don't do unto another." That's the whole Torah. The rest is commentary. It's all different examples of showing that. So the question is asked, why did you have to use such a negative example? Say, do unto someone else what you want done unto you. So the Tzemach Tzedek teaches, and he has the book of mitzvahs, where he explains the mitzvahs in a mystical, Hasidic sense, a deeper level. He explains that the reason why we don't like when people expose our wrongdoings is not because we didn't know about it. When someone says you're this and you're that, if it's true, let's say, someone will shame you, even if it's not libels, even if it's true, you'll be very upset when someone will expose your dark secrets to the public. Why are you upset? Did he say something untrue? Something that you didn't know? No, you knew it very well. You know it better than him. We all know our problems more than anyone else knows. So why are we so upset? It's because it's being exposed. And that's what we don't like. So the road to actually achieving love for someone else, even if he's a person who harmed us or hurt us in different ways, and let's not confuse, there's some religions have this notion that you have to love and forgive. In Judaism, if a person wrongs you, you have to seek justice. It still doesn't. What happens if your own brother or your parents do wrong to you, do something bad to you? You could still love them at the same time, also get what you need and get what you're entitled to get and have what belongs to you. Love. Let's just go back to that thought. A person who knows his faults still doesn't want them to be exposed. Yeah, we hear about a murder. Someone who goes and shoots 20 kids in a school. Does that person? Well, everyone hates him. What about himself? Does he hate himself? Does he love himself? Or his close family?
We don't know. Could be one or the other or both. Could be one
Could
or
be
the other.
a mix.
Could be both.
That's right. That's a very
It
important
almost
point.
always is, actually.
But if he's crazy, then it doesn't even make sense whether or not he hates him or loves him. If he's just
If
Well, you
someone's
know,
crazy,
we know
shoots
there are
20
plenty of-
people,
Yeah. So there are
he
plenty
loves
of-
himself and he may be very despised of himself at the same time.
Right.
And that's what the important
There are plenty
point.
of people who do shootings who are not crazy.
to go shoot 20 kids in a school.
Who are not crazy.
It
Really?
could be just evil.
Yeah.
And I just want, let's think,
If you believe in God, you believe in evil. And what he just said is right. The
let's-
people who are not crazy, they're just evil. Okay?
we all have a choice to follow. Sometimes there are conditions that make a person do some things, and sometimes it's just his choice. But either way, that criminal who did something so despicable loves himself despite knowing his wrongdoing. He might be very angry at himself, and that could translate into hating himself for behaving in such a way, and still he loves himself. And the concept of loving a fellow Jew, loving in general, there's also a concept of loving mankind. So the Lubavitch, which is the town where the Chabad Hasidus started.
In Poland?
It was in Belarus. Lithuania, Poland, it changed hands a few times. So the founder of that, the word Lubavitch means in Polish luba, love. And the founder of that town was known for his great love for Jews and for mankind and even for animals. He was a Jew who was very who loved people. Love actually comes when there's selflessness. When someone is selfless, it's not all about himself. Then we could love. Love means living in harmony. When other people don't get into my way, I could live in harmony. So some people say, let's just get everyone out of my way. Then I could love. I won't have to feel hate. I won't have to feel anger. And another way to do it, probably a quicker way, is to get rid of your own selfishness. We say that the soul should overpower the body. Not to destroy the body, but the soul should lead. And when we behave in such a way, we could feel love towards someone, even if he's not ourselves, because I'm not looking at myself as my own selfish needs. I'm looking at myself in the sense of I'm a soul, and my soul is part of a bigger picture. It's actually a part of God, and all Jews are my brothers. We all come from the same Father. We're all actually, in essence, we come from the same source. So me and him are not separate. The problem with loving someone else is, the hardship in it, is that he's not me. Why should I love someone who's not me? When you realize that you are not your body is what separates you from another. But you are a soul, and souls they go beyond all these limits of time and space. The soul could be everywhere. The soul could be, you can't kill a soul. Soul is a spiritual entity which surpasses limits. So my soul and your soul, in essence, two expressions of one entity. That's why there's no problem with me loving you. The problem starts when I don't look at myself as a soul. I look at myself as a body. So now that, I think, addresses also the question, and that's actually what we left off last week. That that it says then that this in a nutshell, Alter Rebbe's point of what does it mean Avos Yisrael? How could you actually feel love towards someone who's not yourself? It's by outgrowing yourself, getting out of that selfish outlook that it's all about me. If it's all about my soul, then I could love every Jewish soul because we're all one. Now, there's a question that comes up in the Gemara, the Talmud. It says, if you know someone who's your colleague, meaning he's on the same level as you in observance and knowledge, and you see that he sinned, so it's a mitzvah to hate him. Not only is it a mitzvah to hate him, it's a mitzvah to tell your shared teacher, your mentor who taught you and taught him, and you both drank from the same well, so to speak, and your friend went off the right path. So you have to, not only you have to hate him, you have to also notify your teacher they should hate him as well. What happened with love every Jew? We're all about souls. We're not all about if he's a soul, then he's a soul. So here we come to the meaning of true love. True love doesn't mean to turn a blind eye to someone's wrongdoings. What does the Talmud say? It says it's your friend, it's your colleague. And some commentators want to say that how could it be that there's a mitzvah to love every Jew and there it says a mitzvah to hate? So they explain that they say, look, what it says it's your friend, it's your colleague. It doesn't say go hate every sinner. That's not what it says. It says you know that you're someone who's on your same level. He's your pal. You have to hate him. That's because he's your pal. He could have a bad influence on you, so that's why you have to hate him to separate yourself. But the truth is that the Talmud could have said, just stay away from him. It says, stay away from a bad neighbor. But it doesn't say you have to hate. If you have someone with bad influence, then you don't have to hate him. If I see my child is hanging out with bad friends, I don't have to tell him, hate your friends. Don't just stay away from them. Don't hang out with them. They're not good for you. So this friend, in essence, it's not you're not hating him just because you want to keep his influence away from you. You're hating him as a form of love. You want to show him that I value your soul more than your body, just like I value my soul more than my body. And by seeing you behave in such a way, which negates everything that we study together, everything we believe in, you're going against that, acting in a way which is contrary to the truth, to the truth of God. I have to make you feel that you're losing something. And if the only way, after trying to rebuke and trying to influence him to change, the only way for him to realize what he did wrong is by losing his friends, not in order that they should actually, not in order to keep it that way, but to try to bring him back. You tell him, look, I cannot be your friend. For your own sake, I have to stay away from you. I have to distance myself from you, so you should realize what you did to yourself, and you should come back. That's only a very extreme case.
Might cause the opposite.
Huh?
Might cause the opposite effect also.
Again, it's not the first step that you're taking. It's after you try to do the mitzvah. There's a mitzvah in the Torah to rebuke. When you see someone doing something wrong, you have to rebuke him. But the Torah says in the same verse, do not hate your brother in your heart, and then give him rebuke. And there's a reason why these two mitzvahs are together. You cannot rebuke someone out of hatred. Sometimes people that they grew up in a certain environment where, a religious environment, and they behave in the way the Torah says, but the character hasn't been refined. It says it's easier to study the whole Torah than to change one negative character trait. So sometimes there's people that they love this mitzvah of rebuking. They love finding faults in everyone else. It says, you're not a good enough Jew, and you're not a good enough Jew. The Torah says it's a mitzvah to rebuke, but remember, it shouldn't come out of hatred. It has to come out of love.
It's like if you've got a kid and he does something wrong, you don't say bad boy.
That's right.
You don't rebuke the person. You rebuke the behavior.
That's right. Very, very good point. So someone who is not on that level, someone who will not benefit from you distancing yourself from him. The point of distancing yourself from the sinner is to bring him back. And also, it's a last resort. But otherwise, we have another mission that teaches us that you have to be from the students of Aaron HaKohen, that he loved peace, and he would, he loved God's creatures, and he would bring them close to the Torah. The expression that the mission uses is creatures, meaning that these people have nothing valuable about them other than that they're creatures created by God. And Aaron HaKohen, he was not there on their level, and that's why in his situation, the way to bring these people closer was not by distancing himself from them, to bring across that message. That wouldn't work. They were so far, they were so desensitized. Such people you have to show extra love. There's once, the Rebbe once came out of his father-in-law, who was the previous Rebbe, during his lifetime, and he called over some Hasidim, younger Hasidim who were there, and told them, I want to tell you something that I just heard from my father-in-law, from the Rebbe. He says, the Rebbe came to America. America had a lot of, the new country, a lot of Jews who abandoned Judaism on all different levels.
What year was that, more or less?
This is in the somewhere between 1941 and 1950. In that time, and there was differences of opinion of how do you deal with a Jew who left Judaism. You're talking about people that grew up in it's not like today where they're already second, third, fourth generation assimilated. This is people that they knew what Yiddishkeit is all about, and they left it for different reasons. So this the Rebbe's approach was we have to bring these people closer. We have to show them love, not alienate, right? But to show closeness, to show.
Maybe next. Yeah. He's looking to the bathroom.
Yeah, it's all the way in the corner. And some Hasidim say, no, these are people who know what Yiddishkeit is, and they left it, and by showing them closeness, we're kind of giving them a certain green light for what they're doing. You have to distance, like what it says over here. So, the Rebbe says, my approach was just to kiruv, to bring them close. So, I wasn't sure if I'm doing the right thing, so I went and asked my father-in-law. So he told me,
The Rebbe asked
the Rebbe asked the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Frierdiker Rebbe is repeating to these young Hasidim, says, this is what the Rebbe told me. You see that people, the parents, love all their children equally. But sometimes it happens, God forbid, that one of the children is balmum, he's unhealthy in different ways.
Disabled.
He's disabled in one way or another. And we see, although the parents love all the children equally, those children who are missing something, the parents show them extra love. Not because...
Unique love.
Unique love. Not because they love them more, but the love is expressed in a deeper way. There's more care given to them. So the Rebbe continued and said the same thing. Is also spiritually, someone who doesn't put on tefillin, it's like a child of Hashem who's missing an arm. Someone who doesn't keep kosher, it's like a child who's missing a stomach. I'm sure the examples that were given. But spiritually, they're handicapped, and Hashem shows greater or a more unique love to these children. So, and you should do the same thing. You should be like Hashem. So when there's someone in a level that he knows and he's knowledgeable, it says this mitzvah of hating a Jew. When does the Torah says that you have to hate a Jew? Only a Jew who's on the same level as you, he knows, and he knows everything, and you tried all different ways, and that's the last resort. But otherwise, a Jew who's spiritually sensitized, what do you do with him? You have to show him love, and that actually brings him closer. And even then, says the Alter Rebbe, do not think when the Torah says it's a mitzvah to hate him, don't think that hatred and love cannot coexist. Why do you love a Jew? You love a Jew because of the soul, and you hate when there's a lack of love for a fellow Jew. That's a result of the body taking lead. Why did that person sin? Not because his soul wanted to sin. His body got the best of him. His bodily animalistic instincts, made him think that it's more beneficial to sin, that we have a good time instead of doing what's right. So you could love and hate at the same time. You love him because of the soul, just like you love every Jew because of the soul. Of course, we have to use the ideal way is that the love spills over from the soul to the body. It's not that I love every Jew in my soul and I behave with him like as if with my body. The point is that the soul shows the body the way. But in certain cases, the love cannot be expressed, but love must be there. In order for this type of, this quote-unquote hatred to work, to have its effect, to draw that Jew back, there has to be deep love behind that hatred. It's a type of hatred that stems from love.
It's exactly the opposite of the original statement, actually. You cannot not experience love and hate at the same time, all the time. You can't not feel that way.
Again?
You can't not. You just said that people think that you love and hate at different times, but it's all mixed together.
Mixed up, right.
In fact, you cannot not exist where it's not happening. You're feeling the emotions, all of the emotions,
Right,
for
yeah.
different objects, different
Right,
people,
I'm talking about
all the time.
Here we're talking about one person. Are you feeling love to him because of your soul and his soul, which are really brothers? On a high level, they're actually one. That's where you feel the love, and you feel the hate because you feel that this is a method to bring him back into the fold. In an extreme case, not someone who's knowledgeable, someone who doesn't know much about Yiddishkeit. That's a whole different story. That these people won't help them. You have to just shower them with love, and just show them the way, and encourage them to do whatever they can. And actually, what happens when you have this combination, we actually read it in the Haftorah this past week. Yaakov, Chabad of Flatbush, Jacob, who redeemed Abraham. It says the three patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they represent three emotions. Abraham was the emotion of love. Isaac was the emotion of gvura, of severity, which sometimes that's where hatred, anger comes from. And Yaakov was tiferes, which means a harmony, a combination of the two. And there's another emotion that we should remember, besides for hate and love, which are more extreme, there's an emotion called mercy. What's mercy? When do I have mercy on someone? If someone is deserving kindness, I love him. If someone deserves the opposite of kindness, he deserves to be dealt with in a cruel way, then I'm in a strict way, then I deliver that type of emotion. I feel that way and I behave with him that way. Mercy is what you feel when you see someone who's undeserving, but yet you still want to shower him with kindness. That's when you feel mercy on someone. That's actually a feeling that's born of a mixture of the two. This person, I see, he's not doing what he should because of his body. I still love him because of his soul, and what that translates, love plus hate, in this sense, equals mercy. I'm rachmanis on him. It says in the Talmud, someone who has no knowledge, you're not allowed to have mercy on him. So one of the rabbis once said, Yiddish would say it's a rachmanis. See, if the Torah says you can have mercy on him, you can imagine what a rachmanis it is, how much mercy you have to have on such a person. Who you're not allowed to even have mercy on him. You can't be merciful to him. So love plus hate, love because of the soul, because of the godly part, and hate because of the behavior, which is said also the hate is not, David said, is not of him. You look at him like you look at yourself. I'm a Jew, I have a soul, I have a godly part, and there's something about me that has to be fixed. My deeds are not the way they should be. So that's why I experience also emotions of anger and hatred, but not towards the person, just like would be with myself. That's what Hillel said. What you don't like being done to you, don't do it to someone else. You don't like when your negative side is exposed, even though you know that it's there. So when you look at another Jew, try to focus on his positive side. And when you have to fix his negative side, then you have to look. You can't overlook it. You can't just ignore the negativity, but you have to approach it through the glasses of the love. And that creates emotion. And it says the rachmanus, the mercy, overpowers it. It actually takes away the hatred and awakens the love. Now there's another extreme case. It says that King David said, I hate them with complete hatred, they're my enemies. About people who are sin. It says this is talking about the greatest level of sinners, not people that sin because of selfish motives, people that sin because of heretics and people that are really show no connection to the Jewish people. But who is allowed to say this, that I hate them completely? Besides the point that these days, I don't think there's anyone who even people who would even call themselves epicursim and heretics, that it all comes from lack of proper education and upbringing. But let's say it does exist. It says the Alter Rebbe, only King David, who knew every Jew so well, he was able to say this person is purely evil. Otherwise, if you're not King David, how are you to tell that this person is purely evil, that you have to hate him completely? You have to. We don't have that ability to read the soul of someone so deeply to know what he is. And we have to look at every Jew the way we know that every Jew is just like we with ourselves. So we forgive our own wrongdoings very easily. Sometimes a little bit too easily. But just like you forgive yourself, you have to forgive others. And again, doesn't mean that you have to forgive what they did. Sometimes you have to bring people to justice, but it's still, like I mentioned last week, that one of the things that we learn from the verse, love your neighbor as yourself, is that when there's a Jew who has to be punished, capital punishment, because he did a very severe sin, the Torah says, the sages learn from this verse, is you have to, even when you take someone's life, when it's allowed, obviously, due process of law, it should be done in a merciful way, in a loving way. As much as that sounds bizarre, choose a pleasant, more pleasant death.
Capital punishment.
It says the mitzvah of love your neighbor as yourself means if you have to put him to death, then do it in a merciful way. Cruelty, it says that in the times of the Sanhedrin, there was some sins were punishable by lashes. Who would they give the job? And so one of the differences of Jewish law and non-Jewish law. Non-Jewish law, the executor was someone who loved blood. The one who would give the lashes was someone strong. The lashes will hurt. And in Judaism, lashes have to be administered by someone who's weak. Not someone who's a sage, not someone who likes to see people suffering, someone sadistic. Because when we punish, just like a father punishes a child, sometimes you give him a spank or a shout, it has to come from love. It cannot come from hate. It has to come from love. So also when we have to do this on a greater level, it has to come from love.
But what about when they used to stone people? That's not...
Again, that's where the example is. It says the actual discussion is that when you stone someone, which actually would begin to throw them off a building of 2 floors or so. So it says the whole discussion if should he be dressed or not be dressed. So the Talmud says you do it. A man is only covered from the front, and a woman from both sides. Why is that? So it's in order that the death should happen sooner. He should suffer less. So
you had to throw them off a second-story
that
building. That was the practice.
That was the practice, and then.
So what was the point of that? Was that they'd be crippled so they couldn't fight back or run away?
No, usually the person would actually die from the fall. If
from a second-story fall, you're not going to die unless you land right in your head the wrong way. And
that's the way it was pushed. It was tied.
So that's stoning.
And if that wouldn't help, then they would stone.
But
this is very rare. It says that a Jewish court that would do a death sentence, if it happened twice in 70 years, that was rare. It was something that is very hard to reach. But anyway, we see even in the punishments of the Torah, there's a lot of mercy, because punishments of the Torah, which are given from God, are not about revenge. They're about correction. Just like sometimes it's easier for us to understand, sometimes it's harder. But that's the way it is. A child, when he's getting a slap from his mom or dad when he's 3 years old, he doesn't understand there's education over here. So we with God's wisdom, we don't always realize that. But we see that the way the Torah says, it has to come out of love. The person should not use these laws of the Torah, which talk about harshness, as a way to let out his bad midas, his bad character. If you're not sure that you're empty of hatred, then you shouldn't be rebuking people, because that's just a way for you to express your negativity. There's a condition. So this is even in a case where we have to hate. And when we have to hate or show anger, show negative feelings towards a fellow Jew, which is only a tool to bring him back to a situation where we could show him open love. But this is just to end off with.
So you don't think it's possible that there are people out there who can feel the hate, but still separate the hate feelings within their own psyche or
That's
within their own
that-
soul,
that's what
and
we're supposed to do.
rebuke not out of hate, but because it's necessary, or even rebuke out of love or whatever.
I think that
That's how it should
that's,
be.
that's the ideal. That's what we have to strive for. Are there people like that?
I'm like that. I can totally separate it out.
It's not enough to separate it. You have to actually
I will not get
diminish
any,
that hate.
I won't have any diminishment of my hate when I rebuke the person and they're punished. If I if I cut the guy's head off in a rage, a lot of my hate and anger will disappear, will abate, because I did that to express it. So now that it's been expressed, I don't have all of it anymore. I can still think back to the fact that he killed my kid, and that's what made me cut it. That's what made me kill him, and that pain. But then it'll be focused more on sorrow over the loss of my child than it will be about gratification and satisfaction about cutting that guy's head off.
Here we're talking about doing justice.
No, I know, but there's
Let's try
So
to.
it can't be done through hate, is what you're saying.
Huh?
It can't be done through hate.
It should not. If it's done through hate, it's losing the point. The point of acting in such a way is in order to be able to show the love. Sometimes you have to. Someone who's not behaving the way you should. Let's think from a parent perspective, an educator. If I want to shower my children with love, but if I let them do what they want, and then shower them with gifts, then they're going to grow up crooked, and they're going to grow up spoiled and unhealthy. So for their own benefit, I want to give them, and I have to give them the gifts. But I have to first punish them, so they should realize that the gifts are not a form of telling them what you're doing is okay.
Reinforcing their bad behavior.
Yeah, you have to get rid of it. So that's the purpose of showing. We call hatred, showing anger, showing negativity. It's not, it's not a end to itself. You have to use that very minimally, as much as little as possible. Deep down, every Jew, there's a mashpia mentor would say that deep down in every goy, there's hatred. The depth of a guy, even if he's nice, even if there's a certain hatred, and deep down in every Jew, even if they don't get along, there's love. It says that the Paro and his, actually read it in Parsha to Parsha B'Shalach, it says, the Egyptians went with one horse, and actually says they went with one heart as one person. By the Jews, when they gathered around Mount Sinai, it says like one man with one heart. What's the difference? One heart with one man with one heart. So there's two types of unity. People unite on all different levels. Some people unite since they have one shared hatred or love, that's what unites them. Others, since they're united, they love each other, that's why they also find one shared interest. The Egyptians were chasing the Jews, they did it in a united way, because they all had one heart, one feeling of hatred to the Jews, and that's why they all united to fight them. When the Jews stood at the foot of Mount Sinai, they were like one man, one person. They felt unity which was beyond reason, and that also made them feel a certain shared interest, something that they found in common with each other. So that's the depth of a Jew. Every Jew is a soul, and if there's a soul, there can be love. The trick to feel love towards someone, even if someone who wronged you or someone who acted in the wrong way, is by realizing that the body is secondary, the body is a tool, is a vehicle, and the soul should be in the driver's seat.
Yeah.